Okay, there's been a lot of chirping about redistricting in advance of the midterms, particularly in high population red states. Texas, of course, being the major focus of this. So, Texas House Republicans just unveiled a new congressional map that looks to pick up 5 Republican seats. Texas GOP lawmakers released their first draft of the state's new congressional map Wednesday, proposing revamped district lines that attempt to flip 5 Democratic seats in next year's midterm elections. The new map targets Democratic U.S. House members in the Austin, Dallas, and Houston metro areas and in South Texas. The draft, unveiled by State Representative Todd Hunter from Corpus Christi, will likely change before the final map is approved by both chambers and signed by Governor Greg Abbott. Democrats have said they might try to thwart the process by fleeing the state, which they've already done a couple times. They've tried to deny the Republicans a quorum in the state Senate by fleeing to New Mexico. This unusual mid-decade redistricting comes after a pressure campaign waged by President Donald Trump's political team in the hopes of padding Republicans' narrow majority in the U.S. House. Currently, Republicans hold 25 of Texas's 38 House seats. Trump carried 27 of those districts in 2024, including those won by Democratic U.S. Representatives Henry Cuellar of Laredo and Vicente Gonzalez of McAllen. I don't know much about Vicente Gonzalez, but Henry Cuellar is widely known as, the most right-wing Democrat in the House, so it's not a surprise that Trump won that district on the presidential level. But here is Donald Trump talking about these plans to gain 5 seats due to redistricting in advance of the 2026 midterms.
On Texas, how many more seats do you want the Republicans to draw?
5.
And then what if California, New York, Illinois, and other blue states?
Yeah, well, that's
decide to do
okay
this?
too, but 5. I think we get 5. And there could be some other states. We're going to get another 3 or 4 or 5 in addition. Texas would be the biggest one, and
So
that'll be 5.
are you calling in for a complete redrawing of the congressional map ahead of next year?
Just a very simple redrawing. We pick up 5 seats.
And where
But we have a couple of other states where we'll pick up seats also.
And what if that causes primary?
There you go. So if you're going to lose the election, just redraw the maps. Hey, we'll get 5
That's
seats
all.
in Texas. Hey, there's some other states. We'll pick up 3 here, 4 there, 2 here. There we go. Nothing to worry about. Votes? What votes? Where we're going, we don't need votes. We'll just redraw the map. That's all. Simple
And
as that.
also, if you're thinking of leaving, Spain and Portugal, they're getting very tough on the incoming Americans. They're sick of you. They're sick of you. So you're going to have to stay here with us.
Exactly. Under the proposed new lines, 30 districts would have gone to Trump last year, each by at least 10 percentage points. So that's where they get the +5, because currently Republicans control 25 of 38 districts. So this would give them control of 30, assuming similar voting trends, which of course is not a safe assumption in the midterms. However, what you are essentially doing here is you're peeling off sections of blue districts and dumping them in majority red districts. So essentially you are diluting the Democrat vote, much in the way that, say, if you're a Republican living in Michigan, Donald Trump won Michigan very narrowly. If you move to a blue state like New York, you're essentially nullifying your vote for president, because it was of great consequence in Michigan where it helped Donald Trump get a narrow win, and now you're moving to a blue state that's going to go Democrat. So that is essentially what they're doing, not by moving people, but by moving the lines between the congressional districts. That's the game there. The map was immediately panned as racist and illegal by Democrats, who have been raising the alarm about the prospect of voters of color being diluted. The proposed map splits voters of color in Tarrant County among multiple neighboring Republican districts and changes the shape of the 35th district in Central Texas, which was originally created as a result of a court order to protect the voting rights of people of color. Now, as the reporter asked Donald Trump, what happens if blue state governors decide, you know what, if you're going to do this in Texas, we're going to do the same things in our states. Of course, California, the most populous state in the country, Gavin Newsom has already said, if they go ahead and do this in Texas, we will do the same thing in our state. So Newsom will move to redraw California map if Texas redistricts, teeing up a national fight. California Governor Gavin Newsom has told aides he will move forward with a plan to redraw his state's congressional lines to install more Democrats if Texas Republicans pass their own updated map, according to a person with direct knowledge of Newsom's thinking. So here is some video of Gavin Newsom explaining his plans to counter the Texas redistricting.
Calls in to the Texas legislature along the lines of the phone calls he made saying, find me some votes in Georgia, and says, find me 5 more seats in Texas. They're playing by a different set of rules. They can't win by the traditional game, so they want to change the game. We can act holier than thou. We could sit on the sidelines, talk about the way the world should be. Or we can recognize the existential nature that is this moment. They're not screwing around. We cannot afford to screw around either. We have got to fight fire with fire. And I'll close on that point. What more evidence do you need in the state of California in the last just 6 months? Warrantless raids all across this state. Conditioning, threatening to condition disaster aid on the basis of politics, not on the basis of principles and the needs of people.
Okay, then he kind of goes into stump speech mode, but you get the point there. He also went to TikTok to troll J.D. Vance, who made previous complaints of gerrymandering in California. So Vance says the gerrymandering in California is outrageous. Of their 52 congressional districts, 9 of them are Republican. That means 17% of their delegation is Republican, when Republicans regularly win 40% of the vote in that state. How can this possibly be allowed? Well, in this case, my assumption would be that since California is a pretty sparsely populated state, absent the major cities, what you have is a decent percentage of Republican voters who live in the LA metro area, whose votes do get,
Right.
outnumbered by Democrats in those LA metro areas. And Gavin Newsom put out a little troll here.
The biggest pain in the ass that I can be. Every day I wake up and I ask myself, how am I going to be the biggest pain in the ass that I can be?
So he's working on his TikTok game right there a little bit. But you know who loves the idea of gaining these seats in this way is Mike Johnson, who says, that's good news for me. So here's Mike Johnson on Fox News being asked about this.
Much simpler in the first term, less responsibility. Real quick, are you for the redistricting that the president's pushing for in Texas and Ohio? Because in response, the Democrats say, we're going to do it to you in New York and California.
California has a problem. They've got to amend their state constitution, as I understand the law out there, to do it. Look, we have to fight for every inch of ground in the country. We're in an era of small margins, as you said, because of gerrymandering and redistricting, but they have to follow the law. I'm convinced the red states will, and we will probably have a few more seats out of that. And, of course, that's good news for me.
Absolutely. Speaking.
It's good news for me. Yep.
Yeah.
Pretty shameless there, but as we alluded to, Texas is not the only place that is considering this. Obviously, DeSantis says a census redo could be in the works amid state redistricting wars. So Governor Ron DeSantis, maintaining that the last U.S. census was flawed, said Wednesday that the Trump administration was considering whether to approve a new census before the end of the decade, a move that the Republican governor predicted could help Florida gain extra congressional seats. DeSantis said he is already seriously looking at asking the Florida legislature to redraw the state's existing congressional map. Republicans already hold a 20-8 edge over the Democrats. And
Better
then,
not tell J.D. Vance. He's going to get very upset about that.
That's right. That's right. And then, everybody starts brainstorming. Now, hey, what if we try this in Indiana? So Brian Lewis said, should Indiana join Texas and Florida in mid-decade redistricting and pass a 7 Republican to 1 Democrat congressional map? This map would throw Democrat Representative Frank Mervon into a new Trump plus 10 district. These changes would be great for Republican chances at holding the House in 2026. So as it stands right now, the Republicans have 219 seats, which is 1 over the majority. The Democrats have 212 with 4 vacancies. Don't forget, 3 Democrats have died since November of last year. And so, they have to win back 6 seats in order to retake the majority. But of course, a few of those should be fairly easy since they are vacant because incumbent Democrats kicked the bucket. So you're looking at very, very close margin in the House. And if we are to believe the latest polling, including the most reputable pollster of the last 2 cycles, which had a margin of error of less than 1 point, both in the statewide and the national popular vote, Democrats opening up a pretty significant lead on the generic ballot, which means that a lot of seats are going to be in play, which, yes, informs why the Republicans are now intent on redrawing these maps to pad their lead in certain districts that are specifically gerrymandered to the needs of the moment. In other words, let's take a blue district in the Dallas metro area and let's draw lines right through it so that we splinter off some blue votes into this red district, some blue votes into that red district, some blue votes into the red district south. And that's how you pick up, a few seats at a time. Now you replicate that in Texas, in Florida, and hey, depending on how dire things get for them between now and the midterms, they can try this wherever they want. Now the Democrats can retaliate. They have a lot of blue state. I mean, they have a lot of Democratic governors in a lot of largely populated blue states. But this is how you really witness in real time the dismantling of the facade of democracy, right? I mean, you really are just going mask off to the point where we're not even going to pretend that any of this voting stuff matters anymore. If the government pisses off the people and the people want to vote them out, well, we'll just redraw the map so that they can't. And then, you have to ask the question, are there political consequences to that? Do people get so turned off by that they vote against the party responsible just in principle? It's a complicated issue for a lot of people to understand. Most people don't even understand how any of this stuff works. So it's a game that they can play without facing the kinds of consequences that, frankly, they should, because this is just so clearly a power grab. Now, there's all kinds of politics in Texas that I haven't really followed that closely in terms of Democrats being appointed to certain select committees to try and block this. I mean, I don't know how easy it is to do, but they do seem to feel like, if they just want to go ahead and do this, they can figure out a way to make it happen. Democrats have very little power anywhere on the federal level and in these deep red states like Texas, where they have little to no power in the state houses. Florida is the same way, and those are big population states. And so, like I said, we'll have to wait and see how this plays out. But the wheels are in motion right now. This is now beyond just talk. They've been chirping about doing this, and the question was, will they? Can they? They seem to be on their way to trying to make this happen, and that's because they see these midterms as very high stakes. And if you look at their trend lines on all of these issues, including the most important one, which is Trump's favorability rating just tanking now, under 40 in several of the polls, plan B is just, flip the board.
Sir, the latest polling shows us that we have 7 supporters plus cat turd.
Yeah, yeah, right, exactly. So that creates a pretty dire situation. And so, like I said, man, I mean, with the Democrats being that far ahead on the generic ballot, they probably take the House anyway. But you could turn what could have been, a 40 seat gain into a 25 to 30 seat gain. I mean, you could certainly chip away at it.
It seems like there's a lot of hurdles they would have to clear. That's why I asked you that. Like before you can't just do that, or everybody would.
Yeah, that I'm not sure in terms of like legislatively what they would have to do as a prerequisite for this. If the further down the road they go in this direction, the more we'll dig into that. But right now, yes, they have put their foot on the gas. So that is the news as of now.
Please clap.